All right, this is lesson 6 for Life Sciences 11. It's a Christian content connection. I can see that my head's a little bit in the way, but it does say connection there at the end. And we're going to talk about Genesis because I know that this course has a lot of content on evolution and evolutionary theory and just the origin story that is presented in, Life Sciences 11 is that, over the process of billions of years, there has been a progression from, single-celled organisms all the way up to what we have today. And so there still are single-celled organisms, but you have humans alongside all the other animals, plants, fungus, bacteria, and everything. I won't leave out protists. So we're going to get started. I'm going to try to click through this little presentation. So Genesis is a very interesting word. You'll notice the first syllable is gen, and this word itself means the origin or mode of formation of something. And genus, gene, genetics, there's a lot of times in the course where that word is going to be noted. And I love that the first book of the Bible is called Genesis. God identifies himself as the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. And so Genesis is the start. It's where he began the story. So I want to talk about, the origin story, because this is what I believe. This is what, the Bible teaches and showcases the truth that, there was something before us, and that was God. And he was here, and he's the one who brought about life. That's the first verses. Unfortunately, the world gets pretty bad pretty quick when we decide to not follow him, but it all started with something good. So my head's not in the way too much here. So the oldest book in the world that we have is the Gutenberg Bible. So you'll want to know that. You can throw this into your notes. The Bible is the oldest book that we have, and in the Bible, probably the oldest book is the book Job, which is actually pretty interesting. But we're not going to get into that. But we have so many cool copies of the Bible intact. If you ever want to do some cool research on just the documentation of Scripture, it is super, super fascinating. I remember studying that in high school and in university and through my church. And, this is where I base my truth out of. It is out of Scripture. And so I've actually had a chance to visit Manchester in England. And most people, know the Manchester United and Manchester City's football teams, soccer. But they also have the oldest piece of the New Testament, part of John. And so when I was there, I haven't seen the Gutenberg Bible, but I've seen the oldest piece of the New Testament that we have, which is written in Greek, which is different from this. But something that I, want to bring to light, in the course is that, evolution wasn't the way that life started. It started with God speaking. And so I'm going to get right to the first verse in Scripture, which is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I just want to focus on the word created because that is what I truly believe. And I really like this worldview compared to a worldview based on evolution. Because in a worldview where God created the heavens and the earth, where he created us, there is purpose when you create something. And so that's what I believe. I believe God created, mankind and all that we see with intention. And, people get so stuck up with, what's the meaning of the world? And I think that so much of it points back to we have, intention because God created us. And so much of that just simply revolves around getting to know Him. I won't get into philosophy or Christian studies lesson here, but yeah, what I believe is that God created the heavens and the earth. So if you read further on, he creates all the different animals, and he eventually creates mankind. And so the big thing is that he created what he saw, and he created them, and it was good. So what he created was wonderful. He created all the different plants, all the different animals in the sky, in the water. It was awesome. And I think another really big thing is that he created man in his own image. So we didn't come from like a different species over time. We were always, and will be, made in his image. And so that's a very important thing. So I've highlighted those little pieces. And I also love that when he created mankind, it was very good. So, we were the pinnacle of creation. And the first thing that, God does actually in Genesis 2 is that he gives Adam a job to go and do some work. He wanted Adam to name them. I don't know what the names would have been back in the day. But right at the beginning, God actually gave man a job, and the first job, actually had a very biology focus. He wanted every living thing named, and we know that Carl Linnaeus, based on the lessons, was very much like Adam and wanted to not only name things but classify things and be able to name things so that anyone could identify them. So yeah, that was Adam's first job, and my head's in the way a little bit here. If I can move it quickly. Let's see. Bloop. So Carl Linnaeus famously wrote, God created and Linnaeus ordered. That was what he saw as his main contribution to the world. And this was a very large document that he wrote. And right on the front, you can see, now that my face is out of the way, the Garden of Eden. And so he, believed in creation. He was a solid Christian man. And I believe his dad was actually a pastor, or priest, I guess, maybe at this point. But he chose not to continue in that profession, and he chose instead to become a scientist. And so he's very famous for becoming a scientist. And you can see here that he specifically wanted to have classes, orders, genus, species, and that genus and species would be what would define define what there actually was for every single organism. So that's kind of it for this quick this video, but it's a video on some biblical truth where God created the earth. We have purpose, and I hope that that's encouraging to you. And you've written some notes down that can pop up on the assignment and the test.